Enid Blyton. A Faraway Tree Adventure. A color short story illustrated by Alex Patterson. The Land of Silly School. The World of the Faraway Tree. Moonface lives at the very top. In his house is the start of the slippery SL/P, a huge slide that curves all the way down inside the trunk of the tree. Silky lives below Moonface. She is the prettiest little fairy you ever did see. Saucepan Man is a funny old thing. His saucepans make lots of noise when they jangle together, so he can't hear very well. The cloud above the tree leads to amazing places. Which land will the children visit this time? Joe, Beth, Franny, Connie. Chapter 1, Off to Dame Snap's School. One day, a message came from Moonface. I have heard from Saucepan. He says we must go up to Dame Snap's land tomorrow and meet his mother. If we go to the back door of Dame Snap's school, she will be there? So the next day, the 4 children set off. They went up the faraway tree and called for Silky first. She was wearing a pretty party dress and had washed her hair, which looked more like a golden mist than ever. "TM just ready," she said, giving her hair a last brush. I hope Moonface won't keep us waiting. He lost his hat this morning and he's been rushing up and down the tree all day, asking everyone if they've seen it. When they got to Moonface, he was quite ready, beaming as usual, a floppy hat on his head. "Oh, you found your hat then?" said Silky. "Yes, it had fallen down the slippery slip," said Moonface. "And when I went down there, I shot out of the trapdoor at the bottom, and there was my hat on my feet." "So that was all right. Are we all ready?" "Yes," said Joe. "But for goodness sake, do look out for Dame Snap. I feel very nervous of her." "Saucepan will be looking out for us, don't worry," said Moonface. "I expect he will be at the top of the ladder, waiting. We're sure to have a lovely meal. His mother is a wonderful cook." They climbed up the topmost branch of the tree and came to the ladder. They all went up it and found themselves in Dame Snap's land. There wasn't much to see, only, in the distance, a large greenhouse set in the middle of a great garden. "That's Dame Snap's school," said Joe to Connie. "Who goes to it?" asked Connie, curiously. "All the bad pixies and fairies and elves," said Beth. "We saw some once when we were there. Dame Snap has to be very strict or she wouldn't be able to teach them." "They are very naughty?" "Where's the back door?" said Connie, looking nervously around. "Let's go there, quick. I do wish Saucepan had waited for us at the top of the ladder." "Yes, I don't know why he didn't," said Moonface, puzzled. "Shall we call him?" "No, of course not, silly," said Joe. "We'll have Dame Snap after us at once. Come on, we'll find the back door. We really can't wait about any longer." So they went round the large garden, keeping carefully outside the high wall until they came to 2 gates. One opened onto the drive that led to the front door. The other opened onto a path that clearly led to the back door. "This is where we go," said Beth, and they went quietly through the back gate. They came to the back door. It was shut. No one seemed to be about. "I suppose Saucepan and his mother are expecting us?" said Joe, puzzled. He knocked on the door. There was no answer. He knocked again. "Let's open the door and go in," said Beth, impatiently. "We must find Saucepan. I expect he's forgotten he asked us to come today." They pushed the door open and went into a big and very tidy kitchen. There was no one there. It was very strange. Connie opened another door and peered into what seemed to be a big hall. "I think I can hear someone," she said. "I'll go and see if it's Saucepan." Before the others could stop her, she had opened the door and gone. No one felt like following. They sat down in the kitchen and waited. Chapter 2, A Surprise for Curious Connie. Connie went into the big hall. There was no one there. She went into another room that looked like a living room. Connie peered round it in curiosity. Then, through a door opposite came a tall, old woman with large spectacles on her long nose and a big white bonnet on her head. "Oh," said Connie, beaming. "Happy birthday! Where's Saucepan? We've all come to meet you." The old woman stopped in surprise. "Indeed," she said. "You have you? And who are the rest of you?" "Oh, didn't Saucepan tell you?" asked Connie. "There's Joe and Beth and Franny and Moonface and Silky. We did hope that Saucepan would meet us by the ladder, because we were so afraid of meeting that awful Dame Snap." "Oh, really?" said the old woman, and her eyes gleamed behind her big spectacles. "You think she's awful, do you?" "Well, Joe and the others told me all about her," said Connie. "They were all here once, you know, and they escaped. They were very afraid of meeting her again." "Where are they?" said the old woman. "In the kitchen," said Connie. "I'll go and tell them I've found you." She ran ahead of the old woman, who followed her at once. Connie flung open the kitchen door. "I've found Saucepan's mother," she said. "Here she is." The old lady came into the kitchen and Joe and the others gave a gasp of horror. It wasn't Saucepan's mother. It was Dame Snap herself, looking absolutely furious. "Dame Snap!" yelled Joe. "Run, everyone!" But it was too late. Dame Snap turned the key in the kitchen door and put it into her pocket. Chapter 3, Back to School. "So you escaped from me before, did you?" she said. "Well, you won't escape again. Bad children who are sent to me to be good don't usually escape before they are taught things they ought to know." "Look here," began Moonface, putting a bold face on. "Look here, Dame Snap, we didn't come to see you, we came to see Saucepan's mother." "I've never in my life heard of Saucepan," said Dame Snap. "Never. It's a naughty story. You're making it up. I punish people for telling stories." "You wicked man," she snapped at Moonface. "Saucepan's mother works for you," he shouted, dodging round the kitchen. "She cooks for your school." "Where is she?" "Oh, the lady who cooks," said Dame Snap. "Well, she walked out yesterday, along with a dreadful creature who had kettles and pans hung all round him." "That was Saucepan," groaned Joe. "Where did they go?" "I don't know and I certainly don't care," said Dame Snap. "The lady was rude to me, and I shouted at her. So she went off." "Can any of you cook?" "I can," said Beth. "But if you think I'm going to cook for you, you're mistaken. I'm going home." "You can stay here and cook meals for the school till I get someone else," said Dame Snap. "And this girl can help you," she pointed to Franny. "The others can come into my school and learn to work hard, to get good manners and to be well behaved. Go along now." To Joe's horror, she pushed everyone but Beth and Franny into the hall and up the stairs to a big classroom where lots of noisy little elves, fairies and pixies were playing and pushing and fighting together. Dame Snap dealt a few scoldings and sent them to their seats, yelling. Connie was very afraid. She stayed close to Joe and Moonface. Dame Snap made them all sit down at the back of the room. "Silence," she snapped. "You will now do your homework. The new pupils will please find pencils and paper in their desks. Everyone must answer the questions on the blackboard. If anyone gets them wrong, they will have to be punished." "Oh dear," groaned Silky. Connie whispered to her, "Don't worry. I'm very good at lessons. I will know all the answers, and I'll tell you them too." "Who is whispering?" shouted Dame Snap, and everyone jumped. "You, new girl, come out here." Connie came out, trembling. Dame Snap gave her a sharp scolding. "Stop crying," she snapped. And Connie stopped. She gave a gulp and stopped at once. "Go back to your seat and do your homework," ordered the old dame. So back Connie went. "Now, no talking and no playing," said Dame Snap. "Just hard work. I am going to talk to my new kitchen staff about a nice syrup pudding. If I hear anyone talking or playing when I come back, or if anyone hasn't done the homework, there will be no nice syrup pudding for any of you." With this threat, Dame Snap walked out of the room. She left the door wide open so that she could hear any noise. The pixie in front of Connie turned round and shook his pen on her book. A big blot came out. The goblin next to him pulled Silky's hair. A bright-eyed pixie threw a pencil at Moonface and hit him on the nose. Dame Snap's pupils were a really naughty lot. "We must do our homework," whispered Silky to the others. "Connie, read the questions on the blackboard and tell us the answers, quick." So Connie read them, but, oh dear, how could she answer questions like that? She never could. They would all go without syrup pudding and be scolded and sent to bed. Oh dear, oh dear. Chapter 4, Very Silly Questions. The more the children looked at the 3 questions on the blackboard, the more they felt certain they could never answer them. Moonface turned to Connie. "Quick! Tell us the right answers. You said you were good at lessons?" Connie read the first question. 3 blackbirds sat on a cherry tree. They ate 123 of the cherries. How many were left? "Well, how can we say, unless we know how many there were in the beginning," said Connie, out loud. "What a silly question." Joe, read the next one out loud. "If there are 100 pages in a book, how many books would there be on the shelf?" "The questions are just nonsense," said Moonface, gloomily. "They were before, when we were here," said Joe. The third question was very short. Joe read it out. "Why is a blackboard?" "Why is a blackboard?" repeated Silky. "There is no sense in that question either?" "Well, the questions are nonsense, so we'll put down answers that are nonsense," said Joe. So they put down none about how many cherries were left on the tree. Then they read the book question again. And again they put down none. "We are not told that the shelf was a bookshelf," said Joe. "It might be a shelf for ornaments, or a bathroom shelf for glasses and toothbrushes and things." "There wouldn't be any books there?" The third question was really puzzling. "Why is a blackboard?" Joe ran out of his place and rubbed out the 2 last words. He wrote them again, and then the question read, "Why is a board black?" "We can easily answer that," said Joe, with a grin. "Why is a board black?" "So that we can write on it with white chalk." So, when Dame Snap came back, the only people who had answered all the questions were Joe, Silky, Moonface and Connie. Dame Snap smiled at them. "Dear me, I have some clever children at last," she said. "You have written answers to all the questions?" "Are they right then?" asked Silky, in surprise. "I don't know," said Dame Snap. "But that doesn't matter. It's the answers I want. I don't care what's in them, so long as you have written answers. I don't know the answers myself, so it's no good me reading them." Then Moonface undid all the good they had done by giving an extremely rude snort. "Pooh! What a silly school this is. Fancy giving people questions if you don't know the answers. Pooh! Don't pooh at me like that," said Dame Snap, getting angry all of a sudden. Go to bed. Off to bed with you for the rest of the day. But, began poor Moonface, in alarm, wishing he had not spoken, but. You'll turn into a goat in a minute if you are so full of buts, said Dame Snap, and she pushed Moonface out of the door. She drove the others out too, and took them to a small bedroom with 4 tiny beds, very hard and narrow. Chapter 5, A Song to the Rescue. Now, into bed you get, and nothing but bread and water for you all day long. I will not have rudeness in my school. She shut the door and locked it. Moonface looked at the others in dismay. I'm sorry I made her do this, he said. Very sorry. But really, she did make me feel so angry. Do you think we'd better go to bed? She might punish us if we don't. Connie leapt into bed at once, fully dressed. She wasn't going to risk Dame Snap coming back and punishing her. The others did the same. They drew the quilts up to their chins and lay there gloomily. This was a horrid adventure just when they had looked forward so much to coming out to the birthday party. I wonder what Beth and Franny are doing, said Moonface. Hard work, I suppose. I do think Saucepan might have warned us that his mother had gone. It's too bad. Just then there came the sound of a song floating up from outside. 2 worms for a sparrow, 2 slugs for a duck, 2 snails for a blackbird, 2 hens for a cluck. Saucepan! It must be Saucepan, cried everyone, and jumped out of bed and ran to the window. Outside, far below, stood Saucepan, and with him were Beth and Franny, giggling. Hi, Saucepan! Here we are, cried Joe. We're locked in. Oh, we wondered where you were, said Saucepan, grinning. Dame Snap's locked in, too, locked into the storeroom by young Beth here. She was just doing it when I came along to see if you had arrived. Arrived? We've been here ages, said Joe, indignantly. Why didn't you come to warn us? My watch must be wrong again, said Saucepan. He usually kept it in one of his kettles, but as it shook about there every day, it wasn't a very good timekeeper. Never mind. I'll rescue you now. A terrific banging noise came from somewhere downstairs. That's Dame Snap in the storeroom, said Saucepan. She's in a dreadful temper. Well, for goodness sake, help us out of here, said Connie, alarmed. How can we get out? The door's locked, and I heard Dame Snap taking the key out the other side. Crash! Bang! Clatter! Sounds as if Dame Snap is throwing a few pies and things about, said Joe. Saucepan, how can we get out of here? Teal, just undo the rope that hangs my things round me, said Saucepan, and he began to untie the rope round his waist. He undid it, and then, to the children's surprise, his kettles and saucepans began to peel off him. They were each tied firmly to the rope. Saucepan does look funny without his kettles and pans round him, said Connie in surprise. I hardly know him. Saucepan took the end of the rope and tied a stone to it. He threw it up to the window. Joe caught the stone and pulled on the rope. It came up, laden here and there with kettles and saucepans. Tie the rope end to a bed, called Saucepan. Then come down the rope. You can use the kettles and saucepans as steps. They are tied on tightly. So, very cautiously, Moonface, Joe, Silky and a very nervous Connie climbed down the rope, using the saucepans and kettles as steps. They were very glad to stand on firm ground again. Well, there we are, said Saucepan, pleased. Wasn't that a good idea? Yes, but how are we to get your kettles and saucepans back for you, said Joe. It doesn't matter at all, said Saucepan. I can take as many as I can carry out of the kitchen here. They are what I gave my mother each birthday, you know, so they are hers? He went into the kitchen and collected a great selection of kettles and saucepans. He tied them all to the rope used for a washing line, and then once more became the old saucepan man they knew so well, with pans of all shapes and sizes hung all round him. Chapter 6, A Lesson for Dame Snap. Crash! Smash! Clang! Dame Snap was getting angrier and angrier in the storeroom. She kicked and she stamped. Dame Snap, cried Joe, suddenly, and he stood outside the locked storeroom door. I will ask you a question, and if you can tell me the answer, I will set you free. Now, be quiet and listen. There was a silence in the storeroom. Joe asked his question. If saucepan takes 12 kettles from your kitchen, how long does it take to boil a cup of hot chocolate on a Friday? The others giggled. There came an angry cry from the storeroom. It's a silly question, and there's no answer. Let me out at once. It's the same kind of question you asked us, said Joe. TM, sorry you can't answer it. I can't either. So you must stay where you are, till one of your school children is kind enough to let you out. Goodbye, dear Dame Snap. The children and the others went out giggling into the garden. Where are we going now? Asked Beth. Where's your mother, Saucepan? She's in the land of tea parties, said Saucepan. It's not very far. I took her there because it's her birthday, you know, and I thought she'd like to have a party without going to any trouble. Shall we go? So, hearing Dame Snap's furious cries and bangs gradually fading behind them, the little group set off together, very glad to have escaped from Dame Snap in safety. Come on, here's the boundary between this land and the next. Jump, said Saucepan. They jumped and over they went into the land of tea parties. What a fine time they meant to have there.